fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones, the ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power, but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, behind the Yellow Building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices, every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich.
Welcome to episode 760 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley and this is Will Tompkinson. Hi, Will. Over
Evening,
there.
sir.
There he is. Can you see him?
I am not. It's a vicious rumour.
You're not a vicious rumour?
I'm not a vicious... I'm not. It's a vicious... Punctuation matters, people.
760 episodes and people are still listening to us.
Not many people, but...
saying things into the ether.
That's it.
That's our echo chamber. Screaming into the void.
That's my favourite part.
The void?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's when the void screams back, you know you're having a bad day.
Oh. Oh, it's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Once it hears me, it's like, oh no, not him again.
Please shut up.
How are things up there? You got your floaties on and doing some practice in your rowboat?
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
One day there we had nearly 500 mil. I think over 3 days we had like 900 mil.
Wow.
One of the towns not that far north had 2,200 mil.
Are you sure about that? That sounds like a big number.
2.2 meters.
Yikes.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
We had, I think over the week, including the rain we've had today, because, you know, we need more.
Yep.
I think we haven't had that much. We've only had 700 or 800 mil.
Yep.
Well, I say we haven't had that much. Comparatively speaking, we haven't had that much. Some places have had over 2 meters of rain in 4 days. It's just ridiculous. We were cut off for 4 days. We basically were on an island.
So you didn't have work?
No, I went back to work yesterday actually. And
did the boss complain?
I went there today. She always complains.
She doesn't listen to this show, does she?
Usually only the ones that I say something stupid.
So every episode.
So yeah. And we may, I'm just looking at the radar now, we're supposed to be getting a heap more rain coming through tonight, tomorrow. If that's the case, I won't be going back to work. So almost didn't go today. It rained this morning and put the roads almost under this morning.
Right.
So it's been, involuntary closed for a week, basically. But we got water damage, our granny flat and our carport. We got double teamed with that one.
Yikes.
We had the neighbours been away, so their grass is like 4 foot long. And it's not their fault, they haven't been there,
Yeah.
And normally the water runs down sort of diagonally through their yard. It sort of catches the corner of my yard and the next neighbour over, but it mostly flows through theirs.
Yep.
But because they've got like 6 foot of grass in there now, it's not flowing through their yard. It's getting to the low point in their yard and spreading sideways,
Oh,
actually funneling it into my place and the neighbour on the other side.
my backyard's like a river. I'm starting to wonder if it's coming from my next door neighbour because I've got all my gutters replaced, so it's not there.
And so it spat it all out sideways under my fence, and then it all went into my shed
Yikes.
and my granny flat and my carport. And it in the granny flat, it's mostly that VJ board, which is basically just MDF.
Yep.
So, and it just wicks water. So that's all going to be moldy and feral. And then on top of that, the leather lounge is moldy. Some of the cupboards are moldy. All the books starting to smell strange. I've got cardboard boxes of storage stuff in there. They're all going to be moldy. And as well as the water coming up from the bottom, the rain was hitting that hard. I've got eaves that are over the top of the windows.
Yep.
And the rain was hitting that hard. It was bouncing off the eaves and going up into the ceiling cavity and back over the other side into the granny flat.
Oh, God.
So they got wet from the top and bottom.
Can't win.
And the carport, same thing. Water went through it and it wicked up the walls, but it actually come through between the barge roll and the tin on the front side and just come in across the ceiling. You see all these water tracks across the ceiling now.
Oh,
So it's completely underwater.
your insurance company's going to love you, isn't it?
Yeah, I've claimed every year for the last 3 years we've had hail or storm damage or something. Well, actually, no, it's not true. I've claimed every second year for the last 5 years. But I shouldn't complain because most of my family's in Lismore and Byron and Evans Head and that area down there. And they've just been completely wiped off the face of the earth.
No house or anything anymore, right?
To give you an idea, my auntie and uncle's place in 1974, when they had the biggest flood on record, they lifted their house 2 meters above the 74
Level.
flood height. So thought, okay, it's never going to happen again. We don't need to worry about it.
Yep.
No, sorry, lifted it 1 meter above the 74 flood height. And I've just seen photos today of that because it was obviously over the weekend, so the water's had a chance to go down.
Yep.
But we can see watermarks at their gutter line.
Jeez.
So it means the water went 3 meters above the 74 height.
That's nuts.
And there's houses over East Lismore that have never seen water ever anywhere near them in the history of the town. They were completely submerged.
Is that something they didn't prepare for? The council or something should have done something, or
Not when it's this high. There's nothing you can
Can't
do. Like the water was just so high, it's impossible to stop.
Yep.
You know, they tried to evacuate, but they just didn't have the manpower to do it.
they had people on roofs and stuff, didn't they?
They had people on the roofs. The worst part was people were getting into the roofs.
Oh, you can't
They were
rescue
getting
you
into-
in there.
No, and they don't know you're in there. And if your house goes completely under, you can't get out of there because the vast majority of houses in Lismore are tin roof.
Yep.
If they're tile roof, it's okay. You can punch your way out and you're fine. But most of them are tin roof. So once you're in the roof cavity, you can't go. You got nowhere to go.
No.
You know, and I get it. They're older people. They wouldn't have been able to get up onto the roof. But like, don't get in the roof.
No, it's not. Good.
There's something like 400 people unaccounted for. There's so far only 2 or 3 confirmed deaths, which is actually quite surprising.
Yeah, they found a few grannies still in their house.
My dad went missing for 2 days.
Yeah.
Didn't know where he was. We ended up finding him in one of the evac centers, but
Yep.
because they had no power and they'd handwriting everything as well, so they really couldn't just search for a name, you know.
Yep.
So and there's still no power for most of Lismore. No communications really. The most of the comm towers are playing up. It's patchy, you know. So it's just horrific. Like I mean, I've seen a dozen floods there. Like it's not unusual to see Lismore underwater, but
Not underwater.
there's the Ballina Street Bridge, which is the main bridge, which is one of the last things to go under. They deliberately built it high. It's a truss bridge, so it's got the big trusses across the top of it. They were picking people up who'd gone to the bridge thinking they'd be safe.
Yep.
They were picking people up off the top of the truss
Jeez.
because the bridge went that far underwater. They were climbing the trusses to get out of the water, and then they're picking them up off the top of the trusses.
Wasn't there one guy who had a boat and rescued like 120 people from there?
There was a few of them, yeah. There was a lot of private boats. The SES only had, like, they officially had 2 boats, and I think they had a couple of rubber duckies or something.
Yep.
It
must
was
have
all
put a call
done by
out.
private boats, canoes, jet skis, whatever.
Yep.
There was one, like, looting was rife. Like, there's people, as people were being evacuated, there was people coming up and looting houses.
I heard they were doing that out Ipswich way too.
They were, yeah. They caught 4 of them,
Good.
but I don't know how many others got away with it.
Jeez.
But one guy, he'd been rescuing people all day,
Yep.
and then he got a call from his wife saying that their house is starting to go under. So he went home to get his wife and his kids and a couple of bags and stuff, and he's come back out to his tinny, and someone stole the motor off his tinny.
Oh God! What the hell?
It's like, seriously, in like the minute and a half he was inside,
Yeah.
they took his fuel tank and his outboard.
How bad do you have to be to do that crap?
Like, seriously. So, and there's another guy in Evans Head because Evans Head flooded, and Ballina flooded, which boggles my brain how a city that's on the ocean can get a wall of water through it to flood. Like, it hurts my head thinking about the logistics of that. But apparently there was a guy at Evans Head who was helping people in a tinny.
Yep.
In the floodwater, and he's only 18 or something, and the police fined him because they had nothing better to do for an unregistered boat and he didn't have a boat license.
God.
He'd been ferrying people all day and medication and supplies across all day.
Yeah.
And the police come over thinking, oh, cool, they're going to help. No, they fined him.
You want to fight that one, you'd win.
Tell you what, you want to piss off a small town population. That's the way to do it. You should see the comments on the post. That copper better watch his back, I tell you.
Yeah, and they'll know who it was and everything.
Yeah. They know exactly who it was. It's a new guy, apparently. It's a new city slickers.
Well, he was. He's not new guy
yeah,
anymore.
he's not anymore. And Ballina's the same thing. Ballina's underwater. All these places that you just don't associate with flooding. I'm like, casino outskirts have flooded. It's not that unusual. But for casino itself, the town, the CBD to flood is very unusual. As far as I'm aware, it's actually never happened, not to this level.
Yep.
Ridiculous
what's going on.
There's places, and because the people knew the flood was coming, so people moved. Like, there's an example of people who evacuated to an evacuation center, which was one of the schools. Actually, it was one of the libraries in one of the schools. But halfway through the morning, they had to be evacuated from the evacuation center because the water was coming up that far. It was coming into the evacuation center.
Oh, God.
So you had 500 people you've already rescued.
Have to be rescued again.
And most of those people were older people because most of them had come from around that area. There's a lot of older people. Plus there's a couple of nursing homes and a couple of respite cares and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you've got sick elderly people who you've already rescued once. You've got to, you got to do it again, this time with faster flowing, higher water levels.
Yeah.
What was cool, though, there's video footage. I think it's on Higgins storm chasing, but I'm not 100% sure. One of the hotels was going underwater and all the people were up on the roof of the hotel. And no, they weren't stressed because the water had almost stopped rising at that point. It couldn't come up any higher, so they weren't worried about drowning, but they didn't really want to be on a roof.
Yep.
And the rescue helicopter come in and landed. It just touched his skids on the peak of the roof and just hovered with his skids touching the peak of the roof so they could get into the helicopter. Yep. It was awesome to watch this pilot's skills. I'll tell you what, he was an amazing pilot.
I follow Higgins on Facebook. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. And it's just like the skating rink was built in a flood zone deliberately because it's a skating rink. You hose it out, you go again,
Yeah.
Except this time a house landed on it.
Oh.
A random house just come along and went, oh, here's good. And just landed on top of the skating rink.
What was that? A houseboat went floating down the river and then hit the punt or something and then went down. I saw a video of that.
Yeah, they got the guy off it. He was on it. Yeah, he was living on the houseboat.
Yep.
And it broke its moorings or its mooring. There's so much junk in the river that chances are something hit it and snapped the ropes.
Yep.
And yeah, he headed straight for the bridge, and there was another. I think it was either another boat or there was a a boardwalk or something that had gone across the bridge. So the water on the bridge was at different heights.
Yep.
So he's come over that, and it's just like hitting a waterfall, and he's just tanked down the other side of it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there was rescuers actually. What you couldn't see on the camera, there was rescuers on the other side of that, and they actually got him out. Yeah,
that's good.
But there's all sorts
How
of stuff.
crazy you'd be like, I'm on a boat and it's water. Isn't this made for it? No.
The problem, it's the debris. The problem.
Yeah.
See, another one of those boats in Lismore that was helping people. They went to pick somebody up, and they'd been across this path a dozen times. Like it was one of the main paths they were following.
Yep.
And the rush of water had dislodged a railway, not a tie, an actual track, one of the iron tracks, and it popped up like that. So when they've ducked across this place, they've ducked across 20 times before. It literally ripped the bottom out of the boat.
Oh, good.
And then you've got another 10 or 8 people clinging onto a sinking boat that suddenly need rescuing.
The rescuer is going to need rescuing.
Oh, it all happens so fast. You don't have time to debrief. You just go and do it. And and like my auntie, she's put in hospital this morning. Most likely just stress and fatigue and shell shock.
Yeah.
My uncle's devastated because it was his parents' house that he grew up in, and it's underwater, and they went to the trouble of rising it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, and Dad's a classic example. He just wants to go back home.
Yeah.
He just wants to be at home with his stuff and be done with it. He doesn't have a home. He doesn't have any stuff now.
Yeah,
but
it's all gone.
he can't process that thought.
It's too big and dramatic to make.
And of course, he's been renting the same house for the last 25 years or something.
Yeah.
So he's got no contents insurance, because you can't really get flood insurance in a flood zone anyway.
Yeah.
But normally, the water comes up into the garage. It's 2-story. The water comes 3/4 of the way up under the garage downstairs, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he actually didn't get on the first rescue boat because he thought, oh no, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then, it's like every other time, and it's fine. And then 2 hours later, the next boat comes past, and the water's up to the handrails. He's like, I'll jump on that one now, thanks.
Please, me. I changed my mind.
Yeah, so, but that second boat wasn't an official boat. It was just a private boat. So when we rung up finding out what was going on, the SES went, well, we've got him here. He's got a red cross next to it, which means that he didn't get on the boat when we sent a boat around. And then we sent somebody around after the flood to find him, and the house was empty and the doors were open and he wasn't there.
Oh.
It's like, okay, so what happened between that rescue boat not picking him up and now? And that was what we had to fill the blanks,
Yeah. And then you finally got onto him.
Well, we got onto him once they got... my auntie actually had gone to the rescue centres to try and find him, but they had no power, and they're in basketball stadium, so they were basically just torchlight and pitch black.
Yeah.
She literally walked past him 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Because she went back in there, and here he is at like the bed next to like the counter that she'd been standing at. But
he didn't see her either, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's
otherwise
just
he's like, I've been sitting here and you've been walking past me all the time. I keep watching you, but you never say hello these days. I don't know what's going on.
That's it. And then you got the problem, of course. Now there's no fuel left in the town because there's 2 service stations left that didn't go underwater between Lismore and, well, what are they? Because most of the roads are still, if they're not still underwater, they're still damaged to the point where you can't get traffic on them.
Yep.
So there's no entry in and out of Lismore at the moment.
And the price of petrol's gone through the roof.
Well, actually, most of the servos... one of the servos ran out of fuel because he was donating all his fuel to the boats.
Right, yeah.
He said, if you've got a boat and you need fuel, come and fill up here, And so he ran out of fuel filling up the boats. There's a BP further up the hill who ran out of fuel just because of the amount of people who needed fuel. And there's one general store in town that didn't go under.
Yep.
Or I think one shopping centre, there's like a Coles and an Aldi there.
Wow.
And they got nothing left.
Yep. You can't get it.
They've organised, they've got trucks waiting to get in. Supposedly, they reckon they could get trucks in by late this afternoon, but I haven't heard confirmation of that. the military had organised 5,000. I think it was 5,000. 24-hour army ration packs.
Yep.
But there's that's 5,000 packs, and there's 50,000 people that need them.
Yeah. No, doesn't add up.
And there's no fuel, so there's no generators, so there's no power. It's just been best part of 4 days now, 4 days now.
Yep.
And most of the place, they can't really even start cleanup because there's no power. They've got no water pumps to pump into the water tower, therefore they can't waste water. They have to conserve water because in the middle of a flood and they've got no water.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Actually happened to us. Our local processing plant got decimated by debris. Like it's designed to handle floods because of where it is. It floods quite regularly.
Yep.
But it got hit by a caravan or something that was floating down the river.
Jeez.
And it damaged it. So it took them 2 days to repair that. So we were in the middle of a flood surrounded by water, pelting down rain, and we didn't have any drinking water. I mean, we did because I could divert gutters.
Are you thirsty, son?
Whatever,
Just go outside and open your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully it was still raining, so getting drinking water wasn't that bad. But, we had to obviously, have 30-second showers and all that sort of stuff, So, but they still don't have water down there after. Apparently, I think they're hoping to get the drinking water online today or tomorrow. Then they've got to work on the sewage because the sewage is just
stuffed,
backed up and everything because it's not designed for that sort of amount of water.
Wow.
So needless to say, it's been a fun week.
That's an interesting definition of fun.
And I'm just looking on the radar, and we're about to get wet again. So everything's so wet here that we had an inch this morning, and it nearly flooded all the roads again.
Good.
So it really doesn't take much to put everything back underwater at the moment.
Well, all things considered, I think we're doing quite well here at the moment. We might end up getting cut off again, but hopefully, fingers crossed, things will be okay. I mean, I'm not too bad. I'm up a bit of a hill, and at the bottom of the hill is a great big empty park that's got like 2 or 3 huge drains in it with bars across it, and that just drains straight out into the river. So
yeah, but if the river's full, it can't do that.
No, hasn't got full enough to fill up. They've got a great big dip in the ground in the middle of the park, so it's got to fill all of that up, which will take ages. If once the river would be full of the stormwater drains and everything. So we've never seen anything this far, but fingers crossed. I've still got the cupboards all stocked with cheap instant meals and stuff, just in case.
Yep. And you make sure you get one of those $20 butane gas burners and keep in the cupboard, and a pack of bottles, because you never know when you're going to run out of power or gas or anything. You always need a plan B.
Yep. At least I've got the 2 batteries. They should help a bit, but they get drained every day because there's not enough sun to
charge them
right up.
Yep.
So, oh well, that's the bad news. Thanks for everyone for supporting us, though. We appreciate our donators with the Patreons and Ko-fis and.
Yeah, it really helps out, and just help cutting the cost down, and it's gives us kind of a reason to keep doing this, because obviously we know people are enjoying it enough to give us money, so therefore I'm assuming they want us to keep going.
Yep. Keep the get well soon's coming in for Glenn as well.
Yeah, actually I haven't had a chance to check on this, but I know they got drilled at the Gold Coast too, so I'm not sure how Kim's
his house always got hit bad, didn't it?
They did get a new swale drain put in, which may, I think, help, but I haven't had a chance to find out. As far as I know, he's still not doing real well. So
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. So that's the entertaining, enlightening part of the show over.
Yeah. Should we do some news then?
The feel good, section.
Coles is set to join the Canberra trials of Alphabet-owned Wing delivery drones, offering a selection of 250 products for on-demand delivery. The grocery retailer said it would offer a range of bread, fresh produce, snacks, convenience meals, healthcare items, kitchen accessories, and even toilet paper, with no minimum spend or delivery fee. Orders would typically take about 10 minutes to deliver and are available to residents in parts of Crace, Palmerston, Franklin, Harrison, Mitchell, Gerrilang and Killeen. Coles Chief Executive of E-commerce, Ben Hassing, said the drone delivery was the next evolution in delivery technology and could ultimately reduce delivery truck rolls in the future. We are passionate about finding innovative ways to help our customers shop with us, and we aim to deliver anytime, anywhere, anyhow shopping, he said. By partnering with Wing, we are able to offer our online customers another convenient option to purchase Coles items they know and love and get them delivered straight to the door. Wing Australia's General Manager, Simon Rossi, said on-demand delivery drone volumes had significantly increased in the past year. Wing made more than 100,000 deliveries in Australia in 2021, and strong demand for drone delivery has continued into 2022. Wing has already made more than 30,000 deliveries in Australia this year. Customers can place an order for groceries or other products via the Wing app. Sounds like what they could do within Lismore at the moment.
Yeah. Well, the problem is I couldn't charge them.
No.
Wonder
Well,
what
if they take it from another town that's not quite as wet, and
Yeah. Wonder what the radius is on those things. Oh, didn't we figure out last time they said they carried 25 kilos or something?
something.
They're pretty beefy things. I wonder what their range is like, because obviously it's got to be around selected stores that have them. Obviously. So I don't know. My only concern is like out the front here, we've got 2 power lines, and then I've got another power line that goes to the power pole, and then I've got an old phone line that runs across there, and there's an old coaxial cable that's there for some reason before I moved in.
Yep.
So I've got about 8 cables out the front of the house. So I wonder how the drone would do with those,
Yeah.
because it's not like they're not real obvious.
Specs: length 1.3 meters, speed 29 meters a second, wingspan 1 meter, round trip distance 20 kilometers, weight
That's
without a package 5.2 kilos, package weight 1.2 kilos.
Oh, 1.2. Okay, not 2.5. So 1.2, really, it is only for small deliveries, like literally a loaf of bread. You can't even order 2 liters of milk.
No.
You
You
can
have
liter of
1
milk.
kilo of rice.
You can have half a liter of milk. You can have half a loaf of bread, and you can have 3 rashers of bacon.
Yeah. That's all I need for lunch. Thank you very much.
Order your lunch every day.
Instant lunch
1.2.
delivered, very fresh.
20k round trip, 2.9 meters a second. So it's 29. What does it say? 2.9 meters a second. Yeah, so 29 meters, 10 seconds. So minutes. What's that like? I don't know. Shouldn't do math on the air. So it's like 100 meters a minute. So like 10 minutes is a K. So it's 2K. Just say 2K, 20K round trip.
Yep.
That's a slow round trip.
Yep. But it
It's like
gets there.
3 hours. Like 3 hours. Don't order a hot chook.
No. You wouldn't want to.
So all I need to do is add like a air compressor cannon to the front of it, so you just open your window and it just fires.
Shoots a chicken through.
I mean, yeah.
Pigs can fly after all. Here's your bacon.
So yeah, look, I think it definitely has its place, especially someone like Melbourne
run out of toilet paper or some other emergency item you need quickly.
Yeah, and as I said, floods or congestion or accidents or fire, it does definitely have its place. I do wonder how it goes on like big multi-story apartment complexes and stuff. Have you got to like meet it on the roof or something?
Yeah, you might have to go down into the front yard.
But,
I'm on
not all
level
of them
4.
have
Well,
it.
it depends on how high each level is, and
Not only that, a lot of the ones in the city don't have courtyards and don't have foyers. Well, they have foyer, but the foyer's like inside. They don't have an external entry point other than the glass sliding doors. Like there's normally like the footpath, and then some of them have stairs, and then the door, or some just go straight from the footpath to the door. So
maybe you meet
I
it
don't
out on the
know.
road.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is to be with that, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool. It'd be good for not so much food stuff, but it'd be good for like office works.
Yeah.
For computer accessories and like even stupid stuff like thumb drives. When's the last time you spent half an hour looking for a thumb drive?
Yeah.
And
who's
like
got
at
it
work.
when?
I've got a stack in front of me, but I never remember to take them to work. And I spend an hour looking for a thumb drive that's actually, it turns out, being 128 meg from, 2003.
Look for the wing aircraft or get a notification. Our aircraft gently lowers your order down on its tether and unclips the item for you. Wait until the package is fully unloaded, then unpack and enjoy.
So can you grab the tether and you claim a drone?
Maybe you wait till it takes off and you can get a ride.
I mean, if we can only carry 1.2 kilos, it couldn't be that hard to reel it back in. And
Yeah, I only weigh 1.2 kilos, right? Multiply it by 100. What? Quickest time from order to delivery, 2 minutes 47 seconds.
What was that, like in the car park?
That was putting it into from after you click order till they put it on the drone.
Oh, okay.
Less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, see, when it starts, it would be a loaf of bread or something.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like it's got to be continental. It's got to be the sweet and sour sauce, but the one without the pineapple in it, and then it's got to be.
I like the pineapple. What are you talking about?
No,
you don't have pineapple on pizza, do you?
I love pineapple. Some
I
doesn't
do.
like.
Sienna won't eat it.
It's like you gotta have pineapple on a burger. It's just like a rule.
Yeah, that's why I like the O Troppo at a Porto.
Excuse me, what?
A Porto chili burger.
Uh,
They have the O Troppo, which is a Porto backwards, but it sounds like tropical because it's got a pineapple on it.
No, I'm a big fan of pineapple, but it's his son doesn't like it. And she'll have a ham and pineapple pizza. It's the only pizza she'll eat.
Yep.
But she won't eat pineapple in a sweet and sour sauce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my daughter's the same. She won't eat it. She won't eat either of them. She
So,
doesn't like pineapple.
but yeah, no, I don't know.
It's the future, man.
I can see it being used in other places rather than just like for food. I mean, Amazon's been using them for a while for a lot of their stuff,
And Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
When do we get our little Domino's drones going
How
around
does
the
that
street?
work? Because pizzas are more than 1.2 kilos.
They got bigger quadcopters.
They must have. They're probably the big octocopters, the big, 6 foot across ones.
Yeah.
They can carry a fair bit of weight. Like they'll carry full digital camera rigs with gyroscopes and everything. So, but yeah, I mean the flight. My biggest concern is you're going to have, because they're still, at the end of the day, they're still reliant on something like a lithium battery, and they're reliant on the fact that battery doesn't just fail.
Yep.
And the thing falls out of it. I mean, okay, it's probably got 2 batteries, but let's say it's gone out on its mission and it's on its way back and it's down to 10-15%, and that cell just collapses and the battery dies.
Yeah.
It's not going to have a backup battery because it's already used it on the way back, most likely. I can't see them putting full 2 batteries more than it needs.
Yeah. Have you seen those videos on YouTube where a guy's got one of those and it's running out of battery and it starts to slowly go down, but it's in the middle of a river.
Yeah.
And it lands in the river and he has to swim out to get his.
There's a couple. There's I think it's Drone Classic Catches, I think it's called.
Yep.
And the earlier drones, they had, once the battery got to like 5%, they'd auto land.
Yep.
And you had no control over them. The newer versions, they still auto land, but you can control which direction they're traveling.
Yeah.
But yeah, so often they'd like try and override the auto land enough to start to get it traveling in a direction.
Yeah.
And then they'd start, you could see them legging it towards it. They'd just drop the controller, drop the cameras and everything. They'd start legging towards it. There's one that's coming in over an ocean, over a rock wall.
Yep.
And it's coming down and down and down, and you lose sight of the guy because it starts dropping below the rock wall. And in the bottom of the camera, you see the water coming up and the rock wall coming down, and you see his hand just like come down.
Just good.
Like as far from the water is just, and then you see another guy actually is recording it from the pier.
Yeah.
This guy just Superman dives down the rock wall. I mean, it was like a $5,000 drone at the time, you know. So I get it, but I saw one. It was a big gyroscoped 8 blade thing.
Yep.
Octocopter. It was designed for used to do a lot of panning and stuff for
Real
like
estate or
tracking
something?
shots and stuff. It was
Ah.
a big rig. Like they used it. I think it might have even been a movie production one, but it was definitely an amateur production. It was used for tracking shots and for these big panoramic shots and wide shots and stuff.
Yep.
And they're doing a thing. I don't know exactly where they were. Well, I don't know what country they're in, but they're doing this thing on a ski slope, and they're following a skier down the hill. And there's a point where there's a big drop, and this skier's gone for the big jump off the drop, and the drone's panned around for the dramatic sort of pan.
Yeah.
And as it's panned around, it's hit one of the T-bar things that you hang on to sit on to go up the hill.
Chairlift. Yeah.
It's hit one of the chairlifts and it's just dropped into the chairlift. So I don't know where the guy who was controlling it was, but I don't know if he was at the top of the hill or the bottom of the hill, or if he was on skis or what. This chairlift at this point, because they're halfway up the hill, this chairlift's 40 meters up in the air.
Yeah. There goes your quadcopter.
You know,
You got sick of flying and decided to take a rest, sit on the chair.
Well, the worst part is if you're going down on the skis, obviously you've got to get down to the bottom before you can get on the chairlift to go back up the top.
Yeah.
And you're just making an assumption that the guy at the top's going to like take it off and hold it, or because if he lets it go down the bottom and you pass
up. You spend the rest of your life going round and round and round.
Oh dear. Where are we? On Tuesday afternoon, Tasmania found itself disconnected from the rest of the world.
Oh. How did they know?
Because Facebook. People couldn't get on Facebook anymore.
That's sad.
Tas Networks said we're experiencing a major statewide internet outage caused by upstream provider issues. I guess you could say that. The company said some of the connections to some ISPs were still down. Yes, you could probably say that. Telstra, who happened to be the upstream ISP, said, don't blame us. Somebody's cut the cables.
Oh, jeez.
So they have three underground cables, undersea cables. One's, or two, I think, are public, and one's NBN. One's like mobile data and anything that's not NBN, basically, any other sort of data stream that's not NBN, and voice calls and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the third one is the like emergency backup line for military and for government and for all that sort of stuff. If I remember correctly, I did read about it, but it was a couple of days ago. Yep. But apparently there's a massive damage caused to the cables in Melbourne, apparently. And the network across Bass Strait is configured with multiple redundancies, with two of the main cables backing up for each other and a third smaller link being available for priority traffic, emergencies and whatever, in the rare event that both main links went down. But unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. So they basically had, Tasmania effectively had no internet.
Yep.
And they only had, I think they turned off mobile data to save bandwidth, and they only allocated voice calls. I think they swapped over to the emergency line.
Right.
So you only had voice calls. Like they had no data, or they had really, really limited data anyway.
That's why you want Starlink, right?
There would have been some satellite backup and stuff, I think, but for the most part, it was done. So they said it also affected a further. Where are we? It also affected 64,000 people, or 64,000 services in Queensland and 9,500 in New South Wales.
Wow.
And now they've got floodwater, obviously now, it's, because who knows how many. I know the exchange, like Gympie, was completely underwater and they lost all, I think they still had voice, but they lost all data.
Yep.
Lismore is incredibly patchy. Ballina's patchy. Evans Head's patchy. Mostly voice gets through, but data generally times out. And what's interesting is my sister's got satellite, and she's noticed over the last 4 or 5 days her satellite has really tanked.
Yep.
So obviously they're switching over to satellite for all their backup communications, but the satellite's already at capacity because
Yep.
they've oversold it, and now they're trying to add more congestion to the satellite. So
That don't work well.
yeah, it's been an interesting week for internet, that's for sure, and for communications in general, because we're sort of just we assume that we can either use the NBN for data, or the NBN for voice, or the mobile for data, or the mobile for voice. But ultimately, they're all using exactly the same infrastructure.
Yeah, at some point.
So generally, if one goes down, you lose your landline because you lose power, so you lose the NBN. That's different. But if there's a major fault, it generally affects multiple communication devices, because at the end of the day, they're all being rolled into the same location.
Yeah.
So if you don't have data and voice on one, because of a fault like a flood or a cable being cut, you're not going to have it on the other one, because they hit the exchange and they go back into a common cable again, whether it's voice or data.
Yeah.
So, but the way the systems are configured, as far as I understand it, is they always prioritize voice. So that that's the last part of the system to fail.
Yeah.
So
you might lose your internet, but you can still talk to your family and get
Yeah,
emergency services.
I've noticed often here we'll lose, like our tower must have like a 12-second battery backup in it. As soon as we lose power, either that or it just gets overloaded because everybody switches to mobile data. But within 10 minutes of losing power, the tower's no longer. You can't do anything on your phone other than make a phone call
with your invisible mobile. There, it looked like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Hold it over here, see.
Magic.
Yeah. So it's one thing I wish people more knew. Wow, that's not a sentence. I wish more people knew about the 3 Words site.
Yeah.
Because what was happening in Lismore, obviously the street signs were under, the reference points were hard to come by, so people were using Google Maps on their phone to determine exactly where they were. The issue with that is, one, they only had limited battery life, so their phones were going flat and they're having more and more of a hard time finding where they need to go. And Google Maps is only so accurate. Yeah, it's not as super accurate.
Plus, if everyone's on the towers now because there's no Wi-Fi or anything.
That's right. And so they were getting really bad, really patchy, data on their phones. But if everybody had that 3 Words, and people were freaking out because people were losing contact with their loved ones because their phones were going flat.
Yeah.
Well, if everybody knew about 3 Words, all you need to do is change your voicemail message to, say, 3words.com, then the 3 words.
Yeah.
And send somebody a text message, or say 3words.com, these 3 words.
And they'll get them straight to you.
And if you're living at home, obviously if you're not at home, you'd have to go to 3words.com and look up what the 3 words are, or use the app. But if you're at home, you'd probably know what they are anyway.
Yeah.
And you just text them that, and that gives you, what is it, with 4 meter accurate reading or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Something really, really close, So you wouldn't have that problem because you just put that into the app, and it would get you directly there. So even if, you don't have to go through the hassle of typing the address in and waiting for Google Maps to tell you where it is, because on the app it just preloads that section of map that you need already. And
3 meters.
3 meters on there, yeah.
Pretty good. What3words.com with the number 3.
Yeah, that's it.
Go download the app now. If you download the app and you got it on your phone, and you can find out what 3 words are for you right now before anything else happens, so that you're set for the future. Then anyway, even if you have friends that are coming to visit, you say, get the What 3 Words app, go to tuna, water, helicopter, and you're at my house.
Well, exactly. And that's the other thing too. When, you don't have to necessarily tell somebody your address, especially if it's on a public forum or whatever.
Yep.
If it's it's less likely that they'd understand that. But or if you are sending somebody a text message, you don't have to send, name of the street and the number and the address, and you can just enter those 3 words, and which will autocorrect on your phone anyway. So as soon as you start typing the first one, they'll all appear.
Oh, tuna water helicopter isn't anything.
Well, that's disappointing. Dang it! There goes my theory. So, but yeah, no, that's what I was kind of getting at. It's a good plan B. But make your voicemail saying, as of this, as of now, my battery's about to go flat. I'm conserving battery what I have. We're okay. We're fine. We're blah blah blah. Out of the fire, out of the flood, whatever. But when you can, send help, and then give them the 3 words, and
Tune water helicopter is near Umanak Avanata, spelled Uummanaq in Avannanta. Umanak Avanata.
None of those are words. I'm sorry, but you've gone mental officially. Like, that's it.
Tried to zoom out to see it's not drawing any map for me.
It's probably some little island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean somewhere with a population of 3.
Oh, it's on Disco Island. Yeah, Disco duck.
Disco stew. He's going to disco.
Oh, it's at Greenland. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Tune water helicopters in Greenland.
Disco Island.
It's a disco island off the west coast of. Spelled Disko.
Oh, well,
Close enough.
close enough.
Pick 3 words. What do you got?
Oh, I don't know. Move Linux. More. I don't know.
They got move, link, move. Linux isn't a word.
Probably not a real word. Yeah, it probably would have to be like move the or something like that. I don't know. Probably only uses dictionary.
Move, link, tree is in Illinois.
Move, link, tree.
Yeah.
So
near South Village in Illinois.
Yeah, it's probably using dictionary words, honestly.
Yeah. Not your fake made up things like Linux.
I mean, does what 3 words do? What 3 words?
Yeah.
No.
Well, speaking of Linux, following multiple reports of the ransom cyber attack on NVIDIA server, you're going to love this story if you haven't read it already, because this is fantastic. Following the multiple reports of ransom cyber attack on NVIDIA servers, the hacking group Lapsus now demands NVIDIA should release their drivers for Windows, macOS, and Linux as open source. Should NVIDIA fail to meet this demand, the group threatens to release chipset files, graphics, and silicon information for existing and upcoming GPUs. It's unclear what the stolen data contains, but the group confirmed that there are 250 gigs of hardware-related data in their possession. Furthermore, the group confirmed they have evaluated NVIDIA's position, which means NVIDIA might be trying to communicate with the group to prevent future leaks. The message the Lapsus posted was, after evaluating our position in NVIDIA's, we decided to add one more requirement. We request that NVIDIA commits to completely open source and distribute under a FOSS license their GPU drivers for Windows, macOS, and Linux from now on and forever. If this request is not met, on Friday we will release the complete silicon, graphics, and computer chipset files for all recent NVIDIA GPUs, including the RTX 3090 Ti and upcoming revisions. They haven't been announced yet. Of course, this includes all files with extensions such as .v, .vx, .vg, and more. So NVIDIA, the choice is yours. Either officially make current and all future drivers for all cards open source while keeping the Verilog and chipset trade secrets, secret, or not make the drivers open source, making us release the entire silicon chip files so that everyone not only knows your driver's secrets, but also your most closely guarded trade secrets for graphics and computer chipsets too. You have until Friday, you decide. The group has already published information on NVIDIA's DLSS technology and upcoming architectures. Yesterday, NVIDIA reportedly retaliated against the hacker group known as Lapsus by sneaking back into the hacker system and encrypting the stolen data. But the group claims it already had a backup somewhere else, so it didn't matter. Is that the best story you ever heard, or what? We hack you, you release everything free. No, we're hacking you back. No, we hack you first. No, you. We encrypted the stuff you stole. Yeah, but we got it somewhere else, don't worry.
They're going to have multiple backups, dumbasses.
It's still, we hack the hackers. Oh, God.
This is where you find out it's actually some employees who have been paid to do it so that because they want to release open source, but they don't want to make it seem like it was their idea.
Yeah. We were forced against our will. Gosh darn it. I can't believe we have to help out Linux and Mac OS, which everybody has been desperately wanting them to do for like the last 10 years.
I don't know why they don't. Like, they literally only have to release drivers. It's not like they're being told to release hardware open source.
Yeah.
Just
or
drivers.
their trade secrets or anything. It's just how to make our stuff work better with your stuff. We'll buy more of your stuff if we can make it work properly.
But Pop OS is a classic example of it doesn't matter anyway.
Yep.
Because it works as well, if not better, with better frame rates, or at least the same frame rates, with their own version of the drivers anyway. So, like...
You got me, didn't you? It's your fault. I've gone to Pop OS now. We're currently set up and running Pop OS. My computer default boots into the Pop OS SSD drive. Well, MVNE or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And it's fast and works. And we were having problems because, well, you weren't having problems. I was having problems because I'm playing Satisfactory on Windows and just randomly crashed the desktop. And then it worked fine for a week, and then 6 times in one night it crashed the desktop.
And I said, oh, mine hasn't crashed at all. Why don't you try Linux?
And Satisfactory is not built for Linux.
Only.
Steam uses Steam Play, which is use a version of Wine to make Satisfactory compatible, and you were saying it works even better than it did on the natural native Windows. And last night, I've been into roguelikes. Everyone knows that by now. There's a roguelike called Cogmind, and I thought I'll give it a try out because what had happened is for Christmas I bought my daughter a Steam $50 card. And I was like, what do you want for Christmas? And she was like, I want this other thing. So I was like, well, I'm going to keep that Steam card now. So it doesn't matter. I'll buy Steam stuff with my own money. So I had $50 credit on my Steam. So I thought, I'll get Cogmind and try that out. I want to first see if it's going to work on Linux. So I Googled all around, and the guy who writes it, his engine is so convoluted and has been programmed over the last 11 years with add-ons and patching and all this sort of stuff that he says I can't really do justice to release it as Linux as well, to recode everything. But we've had reports that it runs very, very well under Steam Play, and for some people even better than it does when they load it into their Windows. But I didn't write it for Windows. For Linux, I wrote it for Windows, but Steam Play plays it even better in Linux.
Yep.
Doing Windows compatibility.
Every game I've got has gone up in, Minecraft, I regularly see in excess of 600 frames a second.
Whoa.
That's at max everything.
And you haven't got latest graphics cards or anything?
No, it's not. I mean, it's a, what is it, Radeon 7750 or something. I mean, it's not a bad card. But...
Is your hard drive up there?
Yeah, it's above me.
You got long cables coming down into the computer.
I've got a bench right above me, so everything, it sits up there, and all my cables just come down through the back of the bench.
Right. Wow.
Well, I got sick of it being on the floor and getting full of dust.
Yeah.
So I put it up there. But yeah, it's a Radeon. It's nothing special. It's a nearly 2-year-old card now.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, before I was getting constantly between 150 and 200 frames in Minecraft, but now I get constantly around 600.
And Windows crashing all the time.
Windows crashing all the time. I get Valheim. I get now 200 to 250 frames, where I was getting 80 to 90 before. Satisfactory, I get minimum 180 in our depot where all our machineries are, and I get as much as 300 or 400 out in the wilderness.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto, I have to actually frame limit that game because
Too fast.
once you get more than I think it's 150 frames a second, it starts getting weird graphical glitches, which I never had. I never got more than like 70 frames out of it before. So
Yep.
it boots faster. It's more stable. Everything runs, even browsers. Like I don't have memory leak in the browsers. I don't have the pages load faster. OBS is less, like I don't get any delay on my monitoring side of it. I'm actually using OBS now to control my camera through
Yeah, I'm recording with
Zoom.
OBS.
And OBS has zero lag issues. I even get less latency in my USB mixer. Like literally every single component on this system runs so much more efficient. My boot time is like, I don't know, 6 seconds or something.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous how fast it boots. The only complaint I have is you have to put your bloody password in all the time.
It's too secure. Too damn secure.
There's no way to disable either just have like a normal user login with no password. You can't do that. And once you put your password in to log in, if you need to activate a higher tier like OBS, you need to activate allow drivers to start the virtual camera, so you've got to put your password in again. Or you load Steam, it's triggering a different driver set, you've got to put your password in again. Like, it's just so annoying. But that's like my only complaint, and that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I haven't found, on my computer, I haven't found a game that out of my entire, what did we work out a couple months ago? I've got 480 games or something
like that, because you're in the Humble Bundle.
because I got the Humble Bundle. Yeah, I haven't found a game in that doesn't run.
Yep.
At least the same, if not better. I haven't found any that run worse, and I haven't found any that don't run at all. And my old system, which is now it's like an AMD FX something. It's like a 10-year-old system.
Yep.
Most games run perfectly fine on that, even the newer games. Some don't. There's a couple that I haven't quite figured out. I'm sure they'll work because they load, but they crash when you go to play them.
Yep.
But they'll load like the menu screen and that sort of side of it. So I'm sure it's a settings error. But like it'll now run Minecraft. It's only got a Sapphire HD like 2250 or something, just a 1 gig cheap card.
Yep.
On Windows, I had to have in Minecraft everything turned right down. All the settings, the graphics quality, I had to have like 5 chunks loaded. Like I had to have it right down, and it was like 22 frames.
Yep.
On absolutely full everything, it's nearly 100 frames now.
Wow, big difference.
Yeah.
So why should we go to Linux? Well, so many reasons.
Yeah, well, there's absolutely no reason to run Windows now. There's literally none. I still have it on my work computer, but only because it's there. If they're trying to force a Windows 11 update, which they reckon they're going to do because they're going to stop support of 10,
yep.
And then I'll just run Linux. Like, I'm not going to go to. No point in me going to 11.
No.
Because technically my computer won't run 11 because it doesn't have that stupid security chip thing in it that they want anyway, and it keeps telling me it can't run it, yet it keeps telling me I've got to upgrade.
And the funny thing is, Linux works just fine with or without it, and it's secure.
Oh yeah, and it's running. I'm running it on old. Well, not really. Well, yeah, they are pretty old. They're only 2 gig, dual core processor, NUCs.
Yep.
4 gig of RAM. You know, just
Runs
basic
fine.
little entry level things, and it runs amazingly well on those. You know, so. Yep, no more Windows for me.
No.
Speaking of Linux, Linus Torvalds prepares to move the Linux kernel to modern C.
Whoa.
So, and I don't know why they did this, but to give you people a quick sort of history on C, it's a programming language effectively. That's Warlock can probably explain it better, but basically it's you've got machine code, which is what the computer uses for its own programming, and you've got things that program that machine code, because most people are unable to program machine language. There are some people who can do it, who actually program in like full-on base machine code.
Yep.
but most people are incapable of that sort of thought process.
Z80 and
So-
6502 I got no problem with. I don't want to even go into 68,000 for Amiga, let alone x86 for PC. It's
Exactly.
just
So they have
higher level languages.
Yeah, they're effectively shortcut programs. You type in a command into that, and it translates it into machine code. And C is one of the standards. There's a whole heap. There's, I don't know, Ham and there's Rust. There's all these different codes now that they've come up with. But for whatever reason, when they developed C, they decided to start using the 2 end year digits as the version number. Which worked fine when it was like 1989 and 1999, and then you hit 2009 and it doesn't work anymore because now you've got an older version all of a sudden. But anyway, so they're moving from C89, so which is 1989 version of Linux that it was written on. No, sorry,
C.
Version of C that Linux was written on. And they didn't go to the 2011 one, which was called C11.
No, they are going.
No,
to
sorry,
C.
they didn't go to the. What was it? 99. What?
Yeah,
So it was
C99 because there was a security issue.
Too buggy or something. So they've gone to. It's now 20. What is it? 11 years later, but they've gone to the 2011 version of C.
That one's pretty stable and fast now. We can trust it.
Yeah, they've had 11 years to work the bugs out. But basically, what it means is it theoretically just cleans a lot of the code up. Streamlines a lot of the things, does fix some security vulnerabilities that were around. I'm abbreviating a lot of this. It's like a 47-page document as to why they did it.
Do you want to know what's the most recent stable standard informal name for the latest C programming language?
What's that?
C17.
17. So, yeah, so they're basically... they're doing that for a few reasons. One, and as I said, basically to add other stuff like multi-threading support, stuff like that, which isn't available in the earlier versions. But yeah, so it should. They were talking. Linus was saying that he wants to move. Actually, must be talking about that version you just talked about, because you said that there is a later version that they do want to move to. But they wanted to conduct more testing on it first, because apparently, 5 years or whatever it is isn't enough.
Keep it stable.
So, so apparently they're using it. The other reason they're using it is because now that Windows 11 supports Linux effectively natively,
WSL.
This is going to. Because Windows is programmed on this version, apparently. So they're now going to have much more native interaction with Windows. So it should streamline it even more and make it even more efficient and more...
if you're one of those people who still use Windows.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it?
Nobody here.
They're looking at officially making Rust the Linux official second language. Like, so you're going to have C, and then Rust is going to be the other one that they're going to be using.
Rust is everything now.
Well, Pop, they program in Rust. So it's quite interesting that it's 20 years since they've basically I mean, there's been updates in kernels and updates in OSs and stuff, but the underlying infrastructure that binds it all together hasn't changed in 30 years.
Yep.
It's basically the same thing. So
for an update.
It's interesting that they've done that, but that'll be good. So basically all the new Linux stuff that's coming out, one, will integrate with Windows better, but two, it will be a faster version and a more streamlined version of it, and a more stable. And the big one is multi-processor, multi-threading, not so much multi-processor, but multi-threading support.
Yep.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, is basically allowing one application to run over multiple cores.
Yep.
I believe. Because they have multi-core support, but if you ever looked at your what is Task Manager in Windows, but the equivalent in Linux, you run a program like OBS, which can be somewhat CPU intensive, you can basically assign it a core, but you can only tell it to run on one core. So if you've only got if you've got an 8-core system, you're wasting 7 cores, and one core is running at 60-70%, and the other cores are running at 3%, going laughing at the other one, going,
That's
sucker.
right. Yeah.
So you'll be able to spread that over all of them, and things like encoding a video, which is already tremendously fast on Linux compared to Windows.
Yep.
But once multi-threading is added into that, so you can actually encode a video across all 8 or 10 or 20 of your cores that you've got, it's really gonna, it's gonna make, instead of a 1080p hour-long video taking, well, it doesn't take that long, 15 minutes or something at the moment to encode.
Yep.
Under Windows, it took like an hour, and Linux, it takes like 15 minutes. But once multi-threading is enabled, it's going to take like, whatever 15 divided by however many cores you've got is. It's going to take a minute or something to encode a video. So
Not too
it's
bad.
definitely going to have its advantages.
Yep. I think that's it for me because we've hit an hour.
Oh, really?
Yep.
One quick one, just so people are aware. Fitbit recalls its Ionic smartwatches.
Yep.
They said anyone who's purchased Ionic smartwatches to return the device for full refund. It's a voluntary recall. Any of them purchased between 2017 and 2020. Production run ended shortly before Fitbit was acquired by Google in 21, but remained on sale as late as December 21. About 1 million of the devices are sold across the US, so however many here. But basically, they participate in the recall regardless of whether or not the device is currently functioning normally. So even if it's faulty, they'll take it back and give you a full refund. So that's pretty cool. Yep. The company's provide details on saying to return the devices for a $299 US refund, which is pretty good because it only retailed for like $330. They didn't detail the root cause of the overheating issue, saying only in very limited number of instances the battery in Ionic smartwatches can overheat and present a burn hazard. And you not only will receive a $299 discount, but you'll receive a special discount on selected Fitbit devices, bands, and services for a limited time. So you've got nothing to lose, right?
Yep. I gave mine to my nephew, so I had to tell my sister, tell him maybe he shouldn't use that watch anymore.
So if you're not sure what model, on the back of the watch, when you flip it over, it will have an FB number on the back of it. If yours is an FB503, then that's that's what's included in the safety recall.
They had the Surge was the first main digital watch, and then the Ionic was the big square one. A lot of people didn't
bigger
like,
screen, wasn't it? Yeah.
Then they went into the more slightly rounded edge corners for the Versa and stuff like that.
So just something, if you have one of those, be wary of. I couldn't, honestly. I've been around lithium batteries that have caught on fire and exploded. It's not nice. No. You won't have time to get it off your wrist before you'll have major burns.
Yep.
It's such an intense high heat. It's ridiculous. So if you've got one of those, please go and make sure you get that taken care of.
Yeah, get a Versa or something. Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon and Coffee. Email us willlwarlock@aussietechheads.com.au and go to aussietechradio.com 24/7 playback of tech-related shows. See you next time.
Bye.